Welcome to another episode of United for a Healthy Stoughton. We're here today to talk about engaging your kids in the community, and I have two guests with me today, as we always do on our shows. So with me today is Karen MacDonald, who is the director of the Stoughton Youth Commission, and Tim Davis, who is the assistant director of the Stoughton Recreation Department. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So I would love if we could start out with each of you telling us a little bit about yourselves, maybe your background, and talking about each of the departments. So do you want to start, Karen?
Sure. So my name is Karen MacDonald, and I'm the director at the Stoughton Youth Commission. And I have a master's degree in social work. And before, I've worked for the Youth Commission since 2003. And before that, I was an individual and family therapist, working with children and families, and also have done a lot of different kind of pieces before that, working with kids as well. And so the Youth Commission is a department like the Rec Department and the Council on Aging, and we've been around since 1976, and we provide free counseling to Stoughton youth and their families, as well as some support groups and groups for kids to get engaged in the community, as well as doing some small fun trips and some different things throughout the year. One of the things that we have been doing, we have a group called the Youth Advisory Council. And the Youth Advisory Council is a group for kids to do community service, and we'll talk about it a little bit more in depth later. So just kind of, we do a wide range of things for children and their families in Stoughton.
Great. And do you want to say a little bit about, I know having a youth commission in town like Stoughton is sort of unique. There aren't a lot of communities left that are fortunate to have that. Do you want to say a little bit about that?
So we're about one of 25 in the Commonwealth that have a youth commission. And youth commissions can look very different from one town to the next. But the town has been really fortunate in continuing to fund us and seeing the value in funding that. And so from the Youth Commission, we've been able to write grants, and that's how the Oasis Coalition started, which is the kind of doing prevention to help kids not use drugs to begin with. And so this is kind of one of the areas that I'm really passionate about, is that the helping kids before that they get to be teenagers, and making sure that they have the tools that they need to become successful teenagers, successful adults. And I think that starts early and is a continual process about that. But Stoughton is very fortunate to have a youth commission.
Great. So Tim, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? I know you're newer to the community, and a little bit about the Rec Department.
Yeah, for sure. So my name's Tim Davis. I'm a certified Park and Rec professional. Working here currently as assistant director for the town of Stoughton. I've been doing this professionally for about 7 years now. Before I got into the Park and Rec field on the municipality side, the public sector side, I worked privately for NBC Sports. I worked for their branch of action sports, kind of big ticket events. Worked at the TD Garden in Boston, worked in Orlando, worked up in Vermont, so I kind of went all over the place with them, and then really realized that my passion was working with kids and with communities, and really focused my attention on the Park and Rec community and the municipality side. I have an undergrad in recreation management and a master's in recreation supervision, so I've really dedicated my whole life to doing this pretty much. A bulk of my career was spent in Brookline, for the town of Brookline. I was up there for about 4 years, running all their youth and teen programs, from camps to youth clubs to community events, pretty much the whole gamut of programming when it comes to youth and teen programs. And then I came here. I've been here about 6 months now, helping John Dennison run the recreation department here in town. And at the rec department, we're in a really unique place right now, kind of rebranding ourselves, kind of putting ourselves back out into the community, expanding our programs. And what we really do is kind of, offer programming to every aspect of the town, of our community. When people think of sports and recreation, a lot of the times people think of Stowiak sports and the youth sports, which is wonderful, and they're incredible people, incredible organizations to work for. And then at the same time, we're working really hard to promote youth programs, all the way from programs for 1.5-year-olds all the way up to our seniors, where we're doing senior trips, and really everything in between of sports, arts and crafts, community events, community trainings, and just general events for people to come together with. And we work very closely with the Youth Commission. Again, we're very fortunate to have Youth Commission in town to be able to bounce ideas back and forth about programs and working together to kind of give our community the most access to the best opportunities possible.
Great. So we're going to talk about what some of those opportunities are in a few minutes, but I thought it would be really great if we could talk a little bit about the importance of keeping kids engaged in activities that happen in the community and the value of that, sort of both from the recreation perspective and also from a mental health perspective. So maybe you could each share a little bit about your point of view around the value of keeping kids engaged.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of overlap that goes between the two, and I think that that's one of the great things about Stoughton is to have both, to be able to have the Youth Commission and to have a rec department, and that we can keep our focus on some of those different things, in that way that that they're stronger for each of those instead of having it watered down for one doing both. That we're really able to dedicate time and space for the Youth Commission and time and space for the rec department, because I think that sometimes they confuse us. But I think that they're combined and there's overlap, but there's also a lot of differences as well. One of the things for me, I think that is the most important is, and even for the show, talking about the difference between keeping kids busy or engaged, and how that even overscheduling and different things like that can really stress kids out. But being engaged in their community and trying new things gives them resiliency. So one of the things that as adults, as parents, as leaders in our community, one of the things we want to do is we want to foster kids to be successful, engaged adults. And how that starts is doing that from the kids on, in helping them to get the coping skills that they need, helping them to, if they're having trouble, how do they problem solve? Because life can be very difficult, very stressful, as we know, and how do we give kids the tools to manage those pieces of that? So the Youth Commission really does that in a variety of different ways. Like I said, we have individual and family counseling, which I think is really important when families are in need, but we also do a bunch of different things that engage kids on many different levels. We do some small summer programming where we do field trips once a week that gets kids to experience new things in a safe environment, gets to know their peers. We really try to model good peer interactions during those trips. We have a babysitter training class a couple of times a year that helps kids to learn how to babysit and learn the skills that they need to engage with adults, interact with the kids, even to how do you figure out pay and interviewing skills. We have a group called Girl Power that we run at the schools, and we do it through each of the elementary schools, which is really geared for 5th grade girls going into middle school. So puberty, friendships, the transition to middle school, social media, kind of all of those different things. We run the Youth Advisory Council, which is a group that's for high school students that want to give back to their communities, and they meet a couple of times a month, and then they do service learning projects. This weekend they're doing Christmas in the City, which will help families experiencing homelessness to have a Christmas dinner and presents. They do the Walk for Hunger in the spring. So not only are they learning about social issues, but they're again engaging with their peers, doing fun activities, things that really kind of help them expand their world a little bit. And one of the things I think that's really important is giving kids the opportunity to have new experiences in a safe environment, because I think that it's really important for them to, the more that they can figure out their world and the more that they can feel like they have mastery, the more that they can cope with life stressors. So we do a lot of those things. We also have a group called the Stoughton Leadership Institute, which is also for high school students, which talks about leadership skills, resume building, college prep. And I think that Stoughton is just very fortunate to have just a wide variety of some of the things that we are able to do. We'll see a couple of the pictures where the Youth Advisory Council do a program called Pride of Stoughton every year, which is they help to clean up Stoughton when the cat playground was still the wooden structure. We would paint every year and do a cleanup of it. And there's a picture of it right there. This is volunteers helping to, kind of restain it. And, again, Stoughton takes care of the stuff that they own, and these structures lasted much longer than the typical, the ones that other towns had built, just because we had taken good care of it, and it was time for it to replace it and things like that. But in the meantime, we would do that, and so we'd clean up the skate park, do different things like that, and that's a whole community event as well. In behind our building at 110 Rockland Street, we have a community gardens, which families can come together and get a gardening plot together. It teaches kids about local produce, all of those different things like that. This is them prepping it for this spring at this year's Pride of Stoughton. So I think that for me that's some of the things that's really important in building resilient kids, is giving them those opportunities to figure out their world and learn new things.
Do you want to say a little bit about how do you know if your kid is overscheduled and sort of the opposite end of that spectrum?
Yeah, I think that's because we really believe in that. Kids get stressed out too. So some of the things that you'll see is anxiety. They don't want to go to school. Kind of resistance to doing that. Just like when we get overscheduled, some of the same symptoms. They shut down. They might have if they're younger kids, they might have temper tantrums as they get more tired. And I think that it's really a balance. And I think that's one of the things that's really great about the rec department and the youth commission, is that they can have one-time activities or smaller activities. They're not in it for life. They can try new things, figure out which things that they like, because kids need to be able to process what's going on in their worlds as well. And too many activities or too much things like that is really can stress kids out. And I think that one of the things that we have here with all the parks and playgrounds, just a chance to be kids and learn how to interact with other people and other kids is very important. And having all of that structured activity all the time can make that challenging for kids. So I think that it is a balance, and it's something that we, and sometimes when kids are overscheduled, it ends up stress and anxiety, and if they need counseling, that's kind of where we can come in on that piece of it too. We also do parenting consults, so kids doesn't have to be in counseling. You could get some techniques on how you want to do things. If you're having help, if you need help on those things, we can help you around those as well.
Great. So Tim, what about from your perspective, the sort of the value of kids being engaged coming from the Parks and Recreation Department?
So I think recreation these days is in a unique spot. I think we're in a very different world than, say when we were growing up, or 10 years ago with kids playing on a playground. I think the world of recreation is really changing in both what we need to offer and really where the interest lies with children. Technology and the internet is really taking over our interactions with each other, especially with our youth. We see a lot more kids texting each other than actually face-to-face talking. We see them going home and playing video games on headsets with other people and their friends who are sitting in homes just looking at TV as well, and they sometimes believe that's what hanging out is. So I think with recreation, it's a very different time when it comes to that, but it also gives us a very unique opportunity to try to meet those needs and really kind of enforce the importance of getting outside, playing in our parks, interacting with our peers, meeting new people, whether it be people in Stoughton or having community events from surrounding towns. Just giving people the opportunity to come together and really grow, physically, mentally, however, socially with each other. With the recreation department here, we kind of try to capitalize on that. We do we do see programs where we know we have to embrace technology, whether it be doing classes for kids who want to learn how to code computers or design things on computers, graphic designs, things of that nature, because that is where our kids' interests lie, because that's where media is showing us and what they're really absorbing. But at the same time, we like to offer traditional programs everywhere, from our summer programs that we have for our traditional camp-like programs of just open playground, of spending the day outside on a playground with your friends, learning new skills, arts and crafts, to this winter where we'll be doing our traditional ski and snowboard programs up at Blue Hills. And really everything in between. We offer arts and crafts for people to, the skill of making things with your hands is really a dying art form sometimes, we feel. So, building a wreath for Christmas time and the holiday periods, to just doing a general art project. We try to give as many of those opportunities as possible. We do a lot of youth sports for our little ones coming up, as I said previously, from 1.5-year-olds all the way up to doing programs right through our fifth graders, to try to capture the crowd that may not be interested in organized sports activities. So we do a lot of offerings with that. We do community programs again we worked with the Youth Commission with the babysitting courses. We're going to be doing one about home alone safety for parents and teens who want to learn about how to make the best use of your time when you're home alone. And so parents know that the kids are trained properly to have that responsibility when they're on their own. Senior programs, again, our senior population is ever growing, and it will be constantly, and that's something that will never go away. So, and it's a very important community for every community of surrounding towns in our state, and I'm sure in other states. So being able to provide opportunity for them to get out and socialize amongst themselves as well, and interact with people from other towns in the same way as a kid would. I just think recreation is a unique opportunity for kids to be healthy, to be active, to still be exposed to something that they may not be familiar with, and kind of put them outside of their comfort zone. And luckily I'm in a position, and John and this whole town is in a position to be able to offer that programming and that opportunity for these kids.
Great. And we also have some beautiful spaces that the town manages in terms of places where families can go and recreate together in an unstructured way.
Absolutely.
So do you want to talk about some of those?
Absolutely. Our real gem that we're really proud of, and I know is being used a lot here in town, is the new playscape at Halloran Park and Halloran Park. The renovations that took place just over a year ago now. It boasts a beautiful playground. There's a picture of it right now. Beautiful playscape for all age-appropriate children to come. There's picnic tables for families as well as grills. We see in the summertime there's a vast amount of picnics going on, and birthday parties, and just social gatherings and family reunions. And then there's also the large green space of Halloran Park, where we run programs ourselves, but there's also free-form structured programs of families going out just playing football or playing tag or a game of kickball. And then the walking path around that, which really adds up quickly to a mile. If you're a walker and you're a runner and you want a safe spot to go running, it's a great spot. We have the Lessa Memorial Playground over as well, which coincides with the Storybook Trail, which is another, it's a really quiet, quaint area to kind of get away from the hustle and bustle of Stoughton and the town and the city-like atmosphere that you may sometimes feel. It's just, again, a great space to exercise, to bring your kids. There's picnic tables there as well, to spend the day. In the summertime, obviously, there's Ames Pond on the eastern side of Stoughton, where we offer a whole host of programs, from open swim for the residents to swim lessons for our little kids, all the way up to many adults who take advantage of our lessons, as it's foreign just for little kids that it is for some adults. But it's a great spot, and really a really great entity of town to really have it in our possession, to be able to offer it to our community, and really keep it clean and have it for everyone to really enjoy. And then outside of that, we have the West School Athletic Complex that we work closely with our Stowiak sports and the interscholastic sports that they use, which is a great facility as well. And I know there's a lot of projects in town, as many know, that are in the process of hopefully being built, and hopefully we'll be able to expand really our offerings of facilities for the town, for everyone to take advantage of.
Well, and I also think that one of the great things about the rec department and being part of the town is that, and for the youth commission, is that we can adapt our programs as we hear from people. So I know that we have our contact information up there as well. So if there's anything that you'd like to see for us doing, we'd love to hear from people. Timing, this was the great thing. One of the things that we do, the youth commission and the council and the rec department really, and this is where some of the overlap is that we work together to provide programs for the middle school kids on early Thursdays. We work conjointly with the Y, the rec department, and the youth commission to provide basketball, and during those early Thursdays, we're hoping to expand that to movies and some other programmings as well. On the early release days for the young kids, the rec department had make your own cupcakes or frost your own cupcakes. Again, kind of that interacting with kids and following directions and mastery, all are really important skills. And then, we're referring kids to rec departments, and the rec's referring us saying like, oh, maybe your kid is a little bit stressed out or does things like that, so maybe they could use somebody to talk to. But either our programs are free or that they're a really reasonable cost, like the South School, the open playground is just a really affordable option for kids to be able to do some of those things, because I think that kids need to be able to kind of learn the skills themselves. And in our society right now, our parents really want their kids to succeed, and they love their kids. But some of the things that we're finding is that they're getting stressed out more easily, and and they need to be taught how those coping skills to go for a walk or to use the playground or to find new things that they enjoy, whether that be coding computers or doing just even going to a zoo or a thing that they haven't gone to before. I think it's just a really important part of these building blocks that we have that kids need to, and then it comes full circle to this show where protective factors and these building blocks really help kids to make good choices when they're teenagers and when they're if they have these skills to fall back on.
I think going off that too, on the recreation side, we're really in, I think I mentioned it earlier, a rebranding phase. In this past 6 months, we've tripled our programs offering, and that all comes back from feedback that we're gathering from the community. And it's working with the Youth Commission, like Karen mentioned, early Thursdays. One of the things that we recognized in town was there's this big population, kind of fun little thing, is there's this big population of kids who love playing with Legos. And the idea of educational classes to be offered outside of school. So early Thursdays, this coming spring and winter season, we'll be offering Lego engineering for kids to have a safe option on early Thursdays to come and still in an educational and safe setting, but also engage in something that they're interested in. And like I said, we're doing everything we can right now to just really reinvent the recreation piece of Stoughton. And the biggest thing that we can do that is the feedback from the town. And we get a lot of feedback from the Youth Commission and meeting with them and the parents over there. But I can't stress enough, if anybody has an idea, to really reach out. Again, you saw our contact information there. If you have an idea for a program or anything of that nature, and really, would like to present that to us, and if we can make it work, we'd love to make it work, because we're not going to back ourselves in the corner. We want to make programs as accessible for every single person in this town, and get our name out there and show, like Karen said, we have very, very affordable programs for people of all ages that we want to continue to grow with and innovate with.
Great. So we only have a few minutes left. Are there programs or things coming up that you want to make sure folks know about or keep their eyes open for in the coming months?
Yeah, coming up most, as soon as possible would be our ski and snowboard program at Blue Hills. It's an ever popular one here in town, where kids of going all the way up to 6th grade, I believe, will be able to learn to ski and snowboard. You could never step on a board or ski before, or be a self-proclaimed pro, and you're more than welcome to come join us.
How young does that start?
Starts in 1st grade, I believe.
Okay.
So that would be our most upcoming program. Outside of that, like I mentioned, we have our early Thursday programs that will most likely hopefully fill up very quickly as the spaces are limited. And then we just have our youth programs for our little guys. We have our mini kicker soccer program kicking off in the spring, no pun intended. No, really all of our programs will start in March, late February, March. We'll have fitness classes this year with yoga and Zumba. Again, that came from community feedback that was really wanted. So we're more than happy to offer that. But our program brochure will be coming out in late January. So keep an eye out for that. You can find it on the town website, and we'll be posting it on all of our outlets as well. For recreation, you'll find the whole host of programs in there.
Awesome. Karen, what about from the Youth Commission side?
As always, we have babysitter training will be coming up during April vacation, and that will be on our website and on our Facebook page. You guys have a Facebook page as well. You can also post things as far as like ideas and different things there as well. We do look at that. Our Operation Horizons brochure will come out mid-May. But if you have questions or there's comments or different things like that, we can't just, again, even if you have something, we also have a lot of resources of things that we're able to do and to give out. Like, so if you're looking for something, call us. If it's not specifically in Stoughton, we might not know of it. So let us, questions or anything like that. We're always happy to hear feedback.
Great. And the contact information was just up on the screen, and so that makes it really easy to get in touch with everybody. And here it is back again. So I think that just about wraps up our time. If you're particularly interested in some of these specific programs, we recently did a show with John Dennison actually all about the play space up at Halloran Park and really digging a little deeper into that and how it came to be, that new space. We're have an upcoming episode specifically about the Storybook Trail over on behind the Lessa Playground on West Street. So lots of great stuff and great spaces in Stoughton. And thank you for joining us again today. Thank you to my guests.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.
All right.